Hello, everybody. Hope you guys can hear me. I'm honored to be here today with Ran from Crypto Banter, of course, CTO Larsson, all the way from Sweden. We're expecting Ben, but he's a little bit delayed, a little bit tied up. These things can sometimes happen. How are you guys today? Happy Friday the 13th. Don't do anything too crazy. It is one of those weird days.
Good to be here. Greetings from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. It's a beautiful Friday evening here in Stockholm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Ran, how are you? I haven't seen you in a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's been a rough week, eh? It's been a crazy week. Sure.
Well, we're
one
here
of the craziest weeks I've ever experienced.
Yeah, we are here to kind of share our perspective on where we are with the markets, what's going on, what we are doing, our plans. But first, as usual, we're going to jump in, talk about kind of 5 topics of the day that I know is on everybody's mind, and then we'll open up to some questions from the audience. And we've got moderators in the chat and everybody. All I ask is, everybody, please be respectful. These are hard times, and we are all in this together. So that's where we are. So first of all, if anybody hasn't subscribed to the channels below, Ben's channel, links are below, CTO Larsson's below, and so is Crypto Banter. But I know the audience here, and I know everybody watches everybody. So that's just that. So let's just jump into the first topic of the day. As usual, we try and download as much knowledge per minute in this channel as possible. So the first topic is what I call the perfect storm. We had this perfect storm fueled by macro backdrop, war, supply chains, C19, you name it, market, rate hikes, recession fears, and then we had Luna implode. So the Perma bears, the people have been waiting, 10 months to say, yay, it's all going to nothing, are out in force. The question is, did we hit a bottom at 25,400 about 30 hours ago? What do you guys think? I'll go to you first. CTO Larsson, what do you think? What's your perspective on all of this?
Yes, I think so. Actually, if you guys remember, the last time the 3 of us met when on Ran's channel, I talked about my dream scenario. And Ran, you asked if I wish for it to happen or if I hope that it would not happen. And I said, I wish for it to happen. And then you said something like, yeah, it's if you have high conviction, you wish for that. And the dream scenario I explained was that we go below the range support, a little bit below 30K, below the previous lows from last summer, and kind of shake everyone up so that everyone feels that it's over, it's going to end, the crypto dream is over, and we should have to sell everything. And then when that has happened, run it back up again. And that first part has happened. Now we got exactly that scenario. And the question now is if the second part will happen, if it will run back up from here. And I think, so far, so good. I think yes. I think this was the bottom, and I think we run up from here. And I'm actually quite excited because this was exactly the scenario I wished for. And so far, so good.
Good. Ran,
so
what do you...
I say yes.
Okay, good. Ran, what do you think?
Well, if I've learned one lesson is it's not to try and pick a bottom. So I'm going to just lay out all the facts, and then everyone must make their own decisions. I think we've been highly correlated to the stock markets. And I think that right now the Fed has one objective, and the objective of the Fed is to manage inflation. I think we've spoken about this ad nauseum. The Fed, and I think rightfully so, is super focused on managing inflation, and they don't really care that much about the stock markets as much as they care about reducing inflation. And so I think that if crypto was, in the absence of a cataclysmic event, I think we would have tracked the NASDAQ. And if we had tracked the NASDAQ, we probably would have got down to 36,000, maybe 35,000. And that's where we would have been relative to the NASDAQ. I think, though, we had a cataclysmic event. And the cataclysmic event is something that I never, ever thought would happen. And if I did think it would happen, I never thought it would happen this quickly. And that is the collapse of a layer 1 protocol in the top 10 coins, with a very, very, very wide community base. So a wide bunch of holders. I think probably, after Bitcoin and Ethereum, Luna must have been one of the widest held cryptos out there and on size, with a very, very, very big, broad ecosystem. You're talking about exchanges, lending protocols that were designed to keep the peg, and a stable coin which had a $20 billion market cap on top of that. And we had that all collapse in 3 days. That is as much of a black swan event in crypto as COVID was to traditional markets, in my opinion. And if you remember how COVID took 3 or 4 days to get down to the bottom, and then the Fed announced that they were going to do the quantitative, the money, the stimulus and whatever else, and then we had the recovery. I think we've seen that Fed moment in crypto. And I think that even if the NASDAQ does come down, I think that probably the 25,400 was pretty much as low as we're going to go. And I think that if you look at Will Clemente, now Will Clemente is a much smarter analyst than I am, and if you look at his Twitter, he actually lays out the facts, the fundamentals, the stats, which is what we should be looking at. And if you look on multiple metrics, whether it's the MBRV or whether it's the realized cost of Bitcoin, whatever it is that he's looking at, all of them kind of indicate to a bottom. So, do I think that 25,400 is the bottom? I think it's close enough. I don't know, we may go to 23, 22, but we're not going back to 12, in my opinion. I think we've seen it. We've seen the collapse.
Exactly. So let's flip gears, because you did start by talking about traditional markets. And that's exactly where I wanted to go next is, I spent a lot of time looking at traditional markets, more than 3 decades. And when you look at all of the historical indicators, and in a minute we'll get back to some of the Bitcoin and crypto indicators, but I think this is very important because of the correlation between crypto, Bitcoin, and the NASDAQ in particular. Question is, are the traditional markets done selling off? So if you look at the worst peak to trough, this is the biggest NASDAQ sell-off since the great financial crisis, which was wicked. I've lived through that. And also, if you look at things like the 200-day moving average, only 16% of NASDAQ stocks are trading above their 200-day moving average. So it has been really bad. And this is very close to prior bottoms 2002, 2009, 2018, and 2020. So we are at fear. Fear is at a max, which is a big part. Now, this is also, which has me very compelled. I go after kind of things that are valuable. I'm not a value investor. I kind of like disruptive things. But if you look at the relative price to earnings ratio and the relative total returns for different cycles, we've got kind of the 70s, the 90s, and the one we're through since 2014. You can see there is no valuation bubble to burst. You've got mega cap stocks that have taken over the world, but the difference between the dot-com bubble and today is these companies print a ton of money. So from that perspective, traditional markets, what do you guys think? Ran, I'll go to you first. Do you think they've bottomed out too? Would you be going buying Tesla now or something?
I don't think traditional markets have bottomed out as much as I think that crypto has bottomed out. I'll give you a quick synopsis. So as I mentioned earlier on the show, I think that the Fed has one objective in mind, and the objective is to reduce inflation. And I'm going to take an unpopular view, specifically in crypto, and I'm going to say that actually the Fed is right in that what they want to do is reduce inflation. Because if you balance from the Fed's point of view, keeping the stock markets high versus high inflation, keeping the stock markets high affects people who have assets. Inflation affects everyone. Only a very small part of the population have assets. And so what the Fed is doing is it's leveling the playing ground and saying, let's rather manage inflation because it affects more people. And I think they're right, because I live in a country that comes with inflation. I also think that they're doing it right because what they're saying is, let's go in hard, let's nip this thing in the bud once and for all, and let's front load it, let's everybody suffer for 3 months, let them moan, and then let's get on with real business. Let's reduce inflation from 8.5% to maybe 5-6%. Let's do it hard. We're already 1 month into the suffering. Maybe it'll carry on for another month or 2 months, but then it's back to normal business instead of dragging this thing out for a long time. We have seen some really cool signs. We saw the yield on the 10-year invert start going back lower, and that's usually a sign that the Fed has done, that the Fed's job has been done. Not that the Fed has done its job, but the Fed's job has been done. Lastly, I want to say one thing. You mentioned a whole lot of financial collapses when you asked the question. What you didn't mention, though, is that this is of all the collapses that you mentioned, in every single one of those, when the stock market went down 25% or more, the Fed responded by putting more liquidity into the system.
That's true.
This is the first time that we've had a 25, 26% pull down in I'm talking NASDAQ, you can talk Dow, you can talk whatever you want, where the Fed is actually responding in the opposite way. So I think that people that think that the Fed's going to do 7 rate hikes this year are smoking very good marijuana. And I think after 2 or 3 rate hikes, June and maybe one more after that, the Fed says, okay, let's have a period where there's no hikes. We're not gonna drop rates, but let's just let the economy just relax, because we think enough damage has been done. Sorry, long answer, but I had to lay it out properly.
And from what I recall, back in the dot-com bubble, the Fed didn't inflate the system with money either, but that's a separate issue. But you're dead right. This is the big difference this time. So, CTO, what do you reckon? Traditional markets?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I kind of joke a little bit when I say that this is the bottom and so on, because the truth is that Bitcoin follows Nasdaq at this point. The correlation is, day by day, exactly straight out following it. And so the whole crypto is a risk-on asset at this point. And if the stock market will dump hard on Monday, I can guarantee you that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and every other coin is going to dump also at the same time, within the same hour. So, and if that happens, if there is a huge stock market dump, this won't be the bottom. Then we will go further. And if we look then, where are the stocks? And the correlation has really been the highest with Nasdaq, because perhaps it's the most similar. It's also highly risky and more speculative. And Nasdaq has been in a super clear channel basically from 2009, and it's still been in that channel. And now after this last 3-4 months or 5 months of dip, it's still in that channel, and it's not even at the bottom of the channel. It's in the middle of the channel. So Nasdaq now is at 11,000, and it can drop to like 9,800. It's at 11,800. It can drop to 9,800 and still be in the same upward sloping channel that it's been in since 2009. So of course it's possible that there is more downside in the stock market, but right now it actually looks like a local bottom. So my guess is that it is a local bottom, and that means it's a local bottom, at least a local bottom in Bitcoin as well. But as a random, you say it's completely correct. Like if Bitcoin is watching Nasdaq, Nasdaq is watching Fed, Fed is watching inflation. So if inflation is bad, okay, this whole chain is going to be bad. If the inflation looks a little better, okay, then this whole chain is going to be up. That's the short summary.
And the key factor is the markets are different. Everything is priced in. Now it's just a question of when does the good news come? And when the good news comes, like they'll do 50, 100 basis points more. That's all they can do with the amount of debt that they have, or else they shoot themselves in the foot. But once they start easing, whether that's quantitative easing again or cutting rates again, markets will go bombastic. So it's important to be on the train at that time. So let's talk about topic number
James, question. Sorry to interject, but I have a question for you. The market's pricing in a interest rate of 3% at the end of this year. So I think it's 3 or 3.25.
Yep.
What do you think the interest rate? I mean, that's what the market's pricing in at the moment. I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, the interest rate is at 1. What's the current Fed rate? 1?
75 basis points.
75
to 100 basis points. So
75 to 100.
Yeah.
Where do you think we end at the end of the year?
Yeah, so this is the problem. Every time they increase the interest rate by 25 basis points, they slow GDP by about 40 basis points. So they have the button to spin us into, as Palm says, financial Armageddon. They know that very well. They're trying to do a couple of things right now. They're trying to make the dollar strong, which decreases the amount of debt that they have and helps them manage the system. But as soon as they start jacking rates above an additional 2 times 50, another 100 basis points on top of what they've already done with the 2 previous hikes, then they spin us into Armageddon. unemployment goes through the roof, recession hits hard. We're already in a recession where we're talking about, GDP shrinking by 3 to 4% very quickly if they go above the 250 basis points hikes that are on the cards. And they know that, and Jerome Powell has been signaling that. He's playing a game of poker as well, a little bit with people, but that's just my thought. Again, if they do a Volcker from the late 80s, 90s, they will absolutely destroy the economy. And the US is in it for the long game. They need the dollar to remain strong, but at the same time, not crush the growth. That's just my take. So at the end of the year, I think they'll do another 2 times 50, another 100 basis points. And then they'll see, we're in a really bad recession. We're going to cut 25 basis points and we're going to pump a little. We're going to stop our quantitative tightening or slow it down. And then the market will rally. That's just my take. So we'll know the answer in 12 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I agree with you on everything except the last point where they may cut rates and put some money into the system. But otherwise, I think we're fully aligned.
Not necessarily put money into the system, but reduce the amount of quantitative tightening.
Yeah.
So let's talk about topic number 3. What are your favorite bottom indicators for Bitcoin? This would have been a good one for Ben, but I think I know what he's going to say anyway, because I watch his show. So from my perspective, I like the MVRV, and I like the realized price indicator. You mentioned Will Clemente. He put this chart up earlier today in a great tweet thread. He talked about the realized price sitting at 24K. And it is rare we trade at this level. And for those who don't know or need a refresher, the realized price is the aggregated cost basis of investors. When we get to this place, there is no more selling to happen. The selling is done. Now is the time for people to start layering in. That is just history. It's mathematics. It's data. It's on chain. What do you guys think? What do you guys look at? I'll give this to CTO first. See what you reckon about the RP quotient.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many models, and I feel that during the years that I've been here, it's so appetizing to kind of find some model that has worked in some sort of ways and then feel it's going to work the next time also. But I feel that what has worked in my experience are the much more simpler, much more fundamental models. Like Wyckoff is almost 100 years old, and it still works. Like you run the price below the previous lows, then everyone panic and everyone feel it's over. And that's when you turn it up. Or like we had in November last year, you run it above the previous highs. Everyone shouting, okay, guys, we're going to the moon now, 100K soon, and so on. And that's when you run it down. So I feel that what really works is what's anchored in basic psychology. And so on the edges, it's really the kind of you have to think like a contrarian. You have to think that there is someone here trying to manipulate you. And how do you get on the other side of that? That I feel has worked very well. Then in the middle of once the bottom is in, it's really a trend game. Like the trends last much longer than seems reasonable. And then it's important to hang on to that trend. And that's why when we spoke last time, I felt that it's probably going lower because the trend was so solid down and we were not at any key support. Now we are at the key support, and then I feel that there's a possibility of turning around. And so I don't really look at many of these other more complex models. I'm a simple guy. We're at support. We ran it below support and then back up. And that's perhaps a bottom.
Great. Ran, what say you? I know you have a team on your side that look at a lot of TA as well. What are they thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I must say, I'm not. I don't use TA as the primary. I use TA as the validation. So my primary is fundamental. My go-to is fundamental, and I use TA as validation. So that's where Sheldon and I work pretty well together. I decide what I want to buy fundamentally. Sheldon always stops me from buying it when I want to buy it and tells me just wait, and 95% of the time is right. So we tag team pretty well. I agree with everything that you've just said in terms of, I agree with Will Clemente's model, the realized price, the MVRV. I think those two are amazing. But I think for me, there's one thing that for me is more important than both of those, and that is the level of fear in the markets and the amount of time that the fear has been present in the markets. So for me, when I look at the fact that we're in extreme fear and we've been in extreme fear for a couple of days, and this is like by far extreme fear, to me it feels to me like we're getting to a bottom indicator. So obviously I rely first on the on-chain data and the fundamentals. Then I look at technicals, but the overarching thing for me is fear, extreme fear, and extreme capitulation. I think we've seen a capitulation this week. Now, capitulation isn't something that ends immediately. I think one of the indicators you can look at is the realized losses. When people are willing to take realized losses, I don't have the chart in front of me, but if you look at the realized loss chart, we had a spike that we haven't seen in a hell of a long time, which is people capitulating and going, I'm out of this thing. I'm willing to take my losses. And I think we've seen all of those things line up this week. And again, I'm not saying it is the bottom, but I'm saying for me, it's close enough to the bottom to be deploying. Whatever's left, I'm starting to deploy now. And, if I'm deploying it into things where I have real conviction and slightly lower risk, just in case I'm wrong, then it just becomes a longer term bet rather than a higher risk.
Great. So this is.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing, because I agree completely, and I forgot to say that. So there's really two other things that which you touched upon. One is really it has to feel like this is it. It's going to go to zero, and we better sell now. If it doesn't feel like that, it's probably not the bottom. And up until yesterday morning, I didn't really feel it. I escaped the Luna debacle and all that, so it didn't really hit me. I was right positioned with the Bitcoin drop and all that, so I didn't feel anything. But then when I came to the office in the morning, USDT was depigging in front of my eyes by 10%. And then I really started sweating. I had to sit down, and I was thinking, is this really the end of this cycle? And it's going to go bad from here. And I really felt stressed for the first time. And then it kind of resolved. And then afterwards, I thought, yeah, this could actually be the bottom, because now for the first time in a long time, I actually felt really, really stressed. And that's how it has to feel for it to be the bottom. And if it feels like that, a lot of people are selling and a lot of other people are buying. And then it becomes like a huge volume spike. If there isn't a huge volume spike, it's probably not the bottom. And the past few days, we've had huge volume spikes. So that means that there has been a lot of people capitulating. There has been a lot of people selling, and someone else has bought those Bitcoins. And so that could be an indication of the bottom. But when there are these huge volume spikes, it can mean two things. Either something is ending. So the drop could have ended there. That was the end of the drop. Or it's the beginning of something. Someone is loading up and is going to start going somewhere. And that could be in the down direction also. But my guess is still that it's kind of ending volume at this point. And we'll have to see from there. But I agree 100%. Yeah.
Good. So one of the things that I felt was happening, you did see that loading up factor and on-chain, the 10K plus wallets that increased by over 10% in the last 60 days or so. But Ran had a brilliant analysis a little over a week ago, which seems like about a year ago. But one of the things that the audience, I think, wants to hear is, okay, I always say wealth preservation first, alpha second. That should be the priority. And with all that's happened, I expected a big flood into safe havens like Bitcoin, like Ethereum. We saw that for about a day, and then we see people degenning into other stuff all over again. It's crazy. But Ran, you had a great analysis that I really loved. You looked at the top 25 questions you asked. Two brilliant things. One is, will they survive the next 5 years? And number two, will they be in the top 25 in the next 5 years? And we saw a huge change in a week. So I'd like to just take a quick revisit to this table. I will share it online right now. I hope it comes up. And this is basically what we're looking at. So if you guys can see that, to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, all the way down, this list has changed. This was a static list. I actually created it when you were doing your stream, and I thought it was fascinating. And I created a column beside it, whether we agree or not. We were actually in agreement on 21 of the 25 names that were mentioned. So I'd like to revisit that now with you. I'll just go quick round the table. Yes or no? Will it be here in 5 years? And second, will it be in the top 25 in those 5 years? So you guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it fast. So I'll go with, why don't I put CTO on the spot first? So Bitcoin, will it be here in 5 years, and will it be in the top 20, top 25?
Yes.
Okay. Ethereum.
It's just yes and no, right? No
Exactly.
comments here.
It's yes and yes, or yes and no. So for example, if there's token X that is in the top 25 now, will it be alive in 5 years? That's a yes. Will it be in the top 25 in 5 years? Then you say no. So it could wither away, but still be alive. Like we've seen a lot of things from the previous crypto winter survive. Okay, Ethereum.
Yes.
Yes and yes?
Yes and yes. I think,
Perfect.
I mean, the chains, it's very rare, unless there is like the Luna mechanism where you mint into it or something, they're still going to survive. I mean, there's still going to be some activity, but
okay. Tether.
Yeah. Yes, actually.
Okay.
I say yes on that one.
BNB.
Yes, I say yes also.
And will BNB be in the top 20?
Yeah, I say yes on that one.
Okay. USDC.
Yes.
XRP.
No.
Very good. Solana.
Making friends here.
No. Yes. I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Solana. Yes.
All right. Now we know what happened to Terra Luna. The question is actually, do you think Terra Luna can come back from the death?
Another project.
I have a big opinion on this, but it's quite a long opinion.
I'll come to you in a minute. Let's blast through this real fast. This is really for the people in the audience that may have some of these assets. They want to listen to you guys thinking, would I hold it? Should I hold it? Should I prepare to get out and move to a safer place? That's the mission of this. Cardano.
Will exist, but I say no for top 20.
Okay. Doge.
No.
Avalanche.
Will exist, not top 20.
Polkadot.
Will exist, not top 20.
Shiba Inu. That's an easy one.
No.
Okay. Matic.
I think not top 20.
Okay. Tron.
No.
Near.
I think not top 20.
Kronos.
Not top 20.
That's one I've been in the headlines lately. Litecoin.
Yeah. Not top 20.
Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, it will exist, but not top 20.
Very good. Chainlink.
Will exist, but not top 20. I will give one comment after all this, because I realize I'm upsetting a lot of people here.
Okay. Cosmos.
Don't worry, we upset him last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cosmos. Will exist, but not top 20 either.
Okay. And then Uniswap.
Uniswap, yeah, possibly.
I think so too.
Maybe,
Phantom.
yes. Yeah. I think not top 20.
Excellent. So there was and you got a lot of cuts there. So like
yeah, exactly. And my thinking is like this: 5 years is a very long time. And if we go back and look 5 years back, most projects that were big then, they are not around now. They exist, but no one is really talking about them. And the reason is simple. The reason is that it's innovation. Yes. It's not. I don't think that there's a better project right now than most of these. But in maybe 3 years, 4 years, there will be someone innovating something that is better, that gets better momentum, and so on. So the replacement for each of those is not invented yet. While I think that, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum has so big momentum already that they might not be replaced in the same way.
Guess who has just joined us? Hey Ben. Sorry.
Sorry. I thought it was at 3, not 1.
No worries. Sorry about that.
Oh man.
Time zones. Anyway, glad you could make it. We are a good way through the show. We're actually doing an interesting piece now. I don't know if you got the Google Doc I sent you earlier, kind of the top 25, which ones will survive the next year versus which ones will fall out of the top 20, top 25, whatever you want to call it, depending if you add stablecoins or not. We just went through CTO Larsson's view of the world. We're about to do Rand's revisit. This is his brainchild, and I loved it. And so much so, I created a spreadsheet and I put in my own thoughts as well. So I'll let you digest. I know the audience is very happy to have you here, Ben. Thank you for coming. You know everybody here in the show, but I'm going to go to you, Ran, now with this list. Make sure it's top of mind.
Okay, I'm happy to take it on, but I have one condition. I want to hear from Ben whether he thinks we've hit the bottom straight afterwards, because that's why I tuned in.
Absolutely. So we'll come back to that. We'll do a quick recap, get his thoughts on the first three questions, but let's knock out topic number 4. Ran, you're up. Ready to go? Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Ethereum.
Yes.
Tether.
Yes, around, not in top 20, because I think another stable coin will replace.
USDC.
I don't know if it'll be USDC. USDC, yes. Okay.
XRP.
Pass.
This is where you make friends.
Okay,
Solana.
No. Yes.
Okay, Cardano.
Will be around. Man, I actually changed my view on it this week, and I think
because you got Sunday swap to work after.
No. Orange. Let's make it orange, and we can talk about it in a second. But let's make it orange, if you don't mind.
Okay, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room here, because we need to.
No, it's gone, and I'll tell you also why I think it's gone if you want at the end of the thing. Okay, but it's gone.
That's Luna we're referring to. If anybody is not following. Doge, easy one.
Gone.
Avalanche.
No, hang on. It might be around. It might be around in 5 years. In fact, it will be around. But remember, it'll only be around if Litecoin's around, because it's merge mined with it's mined with Litecoin, isn't it? So isn't it merge mined with Litecoin? So it'll be around, but it might be a very small chain and easy prone to attacks.
It also has a big proponent as well, being Elon Musk. Shiba
Inu.
It
will be around.
Yeah.
Shiba Inu, no.
Polkadot.
Yes. Yes, there's too many uncertainties at the moment, because it's not a real functioning chain yet with real adoption. It does work, but it's not a real functioning chain with real adoption. I'd say yes, and maybe this is my flyer that maybe will make top 20, and that's only if it really works.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to, I remember once I mentioned the difference between VHS and Betamax, and nobody in my audience knew what I was talking about. But it's about sometimes the best technology doesn't necessarily win. Avalanche.
Yes, will be around, won't be top 20. Too many flaws.
Okay, Matic.
Yes, will be around, won't be top 20, but will be high up below top 20. Okay. Tron will be around, not top 20.
Near.
Will be around, not top 20.
Kronos.
Will be around, not top 20.
Litecoin.
It will be around, but it'll definitely not be top 20, but it won't die, because there will always be some people mining this weak chain somewhere.
Great. Bitcoin Cash.
Will be around, not top 20.
Chainlink.
Will be around, will be top 20.
Great, interesting one. And it's got a lot of Chainlink fans in the audience. It's a very safe play, but it's been smashed recently. Cosmos.
Will be around, will change their tokenomics at some point, will change the utility, and could be top 20 if they change the utility of the token, but if not, no.
Uniswap.
Yes, will be around, but I think that after I read your comments, I'm deferring to your side, saying I think it will be changed by a more sophisticated DEX type system, but I think they may be the ones to create it. So I'm going to say yes, and yes.
Great. And Phantom, last one.
Phantom will be around. It won't be top 20. I've got fundamental reasons as to why it won't be top 20.
Great. So a lot to get through here. Do you want to talk about Luna right now, if it can come back from the flames, or you go straight to Ben for this list and then ask him about the previous questions?
I can give you the 2-minute version of where I think Luna went wrong and why I don't think it'll be top 20. So in a nutshell, we've never had an algorithmic-based stablecoin work. The reason why is because it's just algorithmic-based stablecoins have the death spiral. Luna had the biggest chance of working, and it would have needed a massive capacity. It would have needed massive adoption to make it work. Luna made a critical mistake, and the mistake was when they decided to back some of it with Bitcoin. Now I know that was what put Do Kwon and everyone else on the high horse and made everyone believe in it. But the minute that you take a concept of a token that is not backed by anything other than arbitrage, and you muddy it with a semi-collateral. So basically, you're taking a $20 billion outstanding or $20 billion float with a $2.5 billion or $3 billion backing. You're now an uncollateralized stablecoin. Call it what you want. And when you do that, you open yourself up mathematically to attacks, because what you're saying is the minute the collateral runs dry, you're an uncollateralized, semi-collateralized coin, and then the whole heap falls apart. So I think the biggest mistake that I don't know if Luna would have worked otherwise, because only when things are attacked do you know whether they're going to work or not work. But I do think that the biggest mistake that they made was actually semi-collateralizing a coin with anything. Because the minute you semi-collateralize, then anyone looks at it and goes, if I can break through that collateral wall, then the whole thing's going to fall into a heap. And that's what happened to Luna. And so I think it'll be a long time before people trust an algorithmic stablecoin again.
Completely agree. Okay, Ben, over to you. We're going to do the top 20 real fast. Ready?
Yeah, I'll just do it. Bitcoin and Ethereum, yes. Probably 1 and 2 in that order. Bitcoin will be number 1. Ethereum will be number 2. Tether, like I think there's going to be a crackdown on stablecoins coming, sooner rather than later. So I could see that taking a hit on Tether. I never will say anything positive about Tether, because I don't think people really should use it unless they need short-term liquidity before converting it to another stablecoin. So I'm just going to say no, just to cover myself. BNB is one of those coins. It's like, it's an exchange coin, and it has done relatively well. I mean, Binance is one of the most used exchanges, so I think it probably will still be around, and it probably will still be in the top 20 in 5 years, but I don't think it'll be number 3 or number 4, if that makes sense. Like, I think something else will overtake it, but I still think it's going to stick around. USDC, yes, that's what I have, that's what I typically use when I'm trading stuff. It's one of the safer plays. And by the way, I just go off. I mean, you asked if Luna is not on this list, right? Well, maybe it is, but the thing with Luna is that it's not even going to be in the top 1,000 probably. Yep. Like, I mean, it's just it's asymptotically going to zero, and no one's ever going to trust it again. I mean, I've never used it, the actual platform, but there's no way investors are ever going to trust something like that again. And so I just think it's a death spiral, and it's not ever going to return. So I don't think it'll be even in the top 1,000 in 5 years, much less the top 20. XRP is one of those things that it's like it's like like an annoying tick. You just can't get it to go away. Like it seems like it shouldn't be there, but it is. And I ultimately have to respect the data and not what I necessarily think. And it's been in the top, 5 or 10 for, 5 or 6 years. My guess is in 5 years, it'll still be somewhere in the top 20. I think it'll still be around, but I don't think it'll be a top 3 project, but it'll probably be somewhere in the top 20. Cardano, yes, I do think it'll still be around in 5 years, and I think it'll be in the top. I think it'll be in the top 10, maybe even higher. I know we disagree on that. Solana, did I do Solana?
Not yet.
I think it'll be around, but I don't know. I think Solana has a lot of issues they have to overcome. I mean, again, I've tried running a validator. It's super expensive. I mean, it's like $100K a year just to run a validator. The blockchain's growing at terabytes per year, so it's getting more expensive. It goes down a lot. Is it gonna? It's also backed by a lot of VC money, so I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be around, maybe top 20, not top 5. Doge, yeah, it's our meme coin. I mean, I don't own any, but I would be remiss to ever say it's going to go away. It'll be in the top. It'll probably be in the top, 20 to 25 just for meme purposes. But I don't own any and don't recommend buying it. Avalanche, and by the way, the people, I don't. The thing with Doge is that it's like it's just always been there. Like it's ever since I can remember. It's always just been this meme that won't go away. So maybe top 20, but it won't. I don't think it'll ever be like a super serious conversation about it actually having real world utility. It's just sort of like who's promoting it, and if you have billionaires promoting it, there's going to be people that constantly buy it. Let's see, Avalanche. I'm going to say top not top 5. I don't know about I don't think top 10 either, but maybe the top 20 in 5. I don't know. I don't think it's going away, but I would say somewhere in the top 20 to top 30 or something within 5 years, unless they can, maybe it'll surprise me, but I think right now it's sort of going down the ranks, if I'm not mistaken. Polkadot, yes, I think it'll be around. They focus mostly on security and not decentralization. So, Cardano's focused more on decentralization. Solana's it's been more focused on fast transactions and that kind of stuff. Polkadot's more focused on security. But they are scaling that back some and allowing more validators to ultimately come back on, and hopefully they'll allow more nominators to go to those validators. So yeah, I do think it'll be around. My main concern with it right now is that it's a bleeder against Ethereum. But then again, what isn't right now? So I do think it'll be around, probably not top 5, but I would say yes in the top 20. Shiba Inu, no way in hell. Matic, I think it'll stick around for a little while longer. But as Ethereum continues to to improve its own I don't know. It's not one of those projects I think will be around necessarily in 5 or 10 years, but in the short term it'll probably stick around. Tron, no. Near, I'm going to say I don't actually have enough information on it to comment on it, so I will just refrain from providing an opinion because it would just be BSing it to some degree. Kronos or whatever that is, I don't even know what that. And I don't know. I'm not gonna. That's the crypto. Yeah, no.
It's been in the headlines.
I don't know. They kind of shot themselves in the foot recently. Yep. So I don't know. I that's not one I would recommend. Probably not top 20, but it'll probably still be somewhere. Litecoin, you could already argue is not around, but it depends on what you define as being around. Like is it going to be there and sort of be a shell of its former self? Probably. Will it find nice returns in a bull market, but that will be inferior to Bitcoin and Ethereum? Probably. So it'll still be around, but my guess is it'll be somewhere in the top in 5 years. Let's say the top 50 in 5 years. BCH, no. Chainlink, yes. Hopefully Chainlink will pick it up in the bear market. That's where it picked it up last time. Cosmos, probably around. I think they're pretty bad at marketing, honestly. It's probably one of their biggest issues. It'll probably be around, but I'm gonna say top 30. FTX, yeah, I mean, it'll probably be around. I don't know. I don't know exactly where it'll be. Uniswap, it'll be around, but it's not going to be in the top 20. I don't think. Maybe like top 50 or top 100, but I don't think it'll be in the top 20. And Phantom, I'll say it'll be around, maybe in the top 40.
Excellent. Well, that's great. I'm going to step back for a second because I know that the audience has some questions. They'd love your insight on the two topics that we touched on in the beginning. We talked about the perfect storm, fueled by macro, Luna implosion. Ben, Perma bears out in force. Did we hit that bottom at $25.4 thousand for Bitcoin 30 hours ago?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you have to look at the volume, and one encouraging sign is the volume is actually looking similar to like May 2021 levels. It is moving higher. The one thing we have to be careful about though is in December of 2018 we saw a surge of volume, but the actual bottom was approximately like a month later. It wasn't actually the volume surge candle that led to the bottom. It still came about a month later. I do think it could be a local bottom if the NASDAQ actually bounces, and it seems like we're due for a bounce in traditional markets. I mean, they've been getting hammered as well. I don't want to commit to it being a market cycle bottom where we sustainably move higher, because I still think there's going to be a lot of like regulation FUD and whatnot to come this year. And so we could end up going down, at least to the 200-week moving average, which, by the way, I mean, isn't even that much further down if you think about it. I mean, like 22K, 25K, it's not that big of a difference. But in terms of longer term investing, as long as you have a 2-year outlook, this risk level tends to be relatively good as long as you have like a 2-year outlook. If you have like a 6-month outlook, who the hell knows? I mean, I I don't really know. I think it could be a short-term bottom for sure if the Nasdaq can bounce. If the Nasdaq goes down, then we'll probably bleed into a potential market cycle. But I would be more confident about talking about it being a more major bottom if there's a lot of confluence around the 20K area. Is it a hill I'm going to die on? No. I mean, if Bitcoin shows strength and then I'll be happy to say that it's the bottom. But I'm not convinced yet that it's the cycle bottom with all the regulation fears and also with the Fed still remaining relatively hawkish. I mean, they're going to be raising 50 basis points the next couple of months. And then you have stablecoin regulations likely coming at the end of this year. So I'm not going to commit to it being a cycle bottom, but I say it could be a local bottom for a month or something maybe.
Okay, good stuff. And then indicators, one of the things like, what are your favorite bottom indicators of Bitcoin? What would you want to see? Will Clemente came out and said the realized price sits at 24K. We got so close. That's the aggregate cost base of investors. That's that and the MVRV Z-score is pretty good. What do you look at to find that bottom before you just blow all your powder and jump in, back up the truck? Where would you be?
Yeah, so I would look at I have like this risk metric for it. It's still further down from where we currently are. I think anything sub 20K or around 20K becomes like a very interesting level from just a price perspective, not necessarily any other perspective, but just from like a technical perspective in terms of like the down from the all-time high. If you look at prior bear market drawdowns, the first cycle, we saw like a negative 93, negative 94% drop. Second cycle was around an 86 or 87% drop. The third cycle was around an 83 to 84% drop. So in the same way that we're experiencing diminishing returns, we're also getting diminishing losses too. So, if you think about it, maybe dropping between, I think we already went 60% down, right? Or something like that. If it goes if it's a 70% drop, which seems reasonable. I mean, a 70% drop does seem reasonable compared to what we've seen in the past. That puts you at 20K. If it's like a 75% drop, it puts you, I think, at 17K. And if it's an 80% drop, it puts you at 14K. So I think there's a lot of longer term investors that would find incredible value at the 20K level, or just a couple thousand around that area. I think that would be a really a key indicator of in terms of like where it is from its height. And then also the other things to look at besides all of that stuff is you have the logarithmic regression band, which the one that I have fit to sort of what I consider to be the non-bubble data. That ranges from, I believe, 14K to 30K with the fair value at around 21 to 22K. And then you have the 200 week at 22K. You have the last two cycle bottoms occurred also when the 20 week crossed below the 100, and that hasn't happened yet, but it's probably going to happen within the next like couple of months. Also, the Bitcoin historically hasn't shown strength until the 20 week gets back into the fair value logarithmic regression band, which that hasn't happened yet. So I think it's a little too early to be super confident about it being a cycle bottom. But with that said, no bear market goes straight down, right? We could easily bounce for a few. I mean, look what happened between January and April. We went to 31K and then we bounced around up to 48K for 3 months, and then we ended up putting in a new low. So I'm not like a ton confident on this being the cycle bottom. But if we get one more leg down, then I think it becomes even a more serious discussion.
Yeah. So that takes us to topic number 5, and I'm very much on risk.
Can I just add one?
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing which I forgot to say that I feel is very important, because I agree with everything we have talked. You guys have talked about. We speculate a lot here. Will this happen? Will that happen? We talk about these 20 projects. Will they be or will they not be, and so on. I think that we have to also realize that predicting the future is very difficult. If there's one thing that I think everyone have realized the past couple of years is that its predictions are difficult, and especially about the future. So no one would have predicted what went down even this week. Even 3 weeks ago, no one would have gotten this week right. 2 years ago, no one would have gotten today right. it is surprisingly difficult to predict the future. And it's like in business and management and so on, we have the fancy word of serendipity, right? Which just means luck, and just means things happen at random. And I think it's very important to take in and absorb that, because whatever we sit here and we try our best to think what will happen, what will not happen. But in reality, we don't know either. So I think it's very important as an investor to kind of hold these opinions loosely. If the reality shows that whatever we think today, on Monday, reality shows something else, we have to change our opinion. And then that's a difficult thing to do. And it's very ungrateful. A lot of people will jump back and say, yeah, but you guys sat there last Friday and now you said this, and now you suddenly say this. Well, you've changed your mind. Yeah, that's what we have to do. That's the only way to survive. And that's why we can't really predict which projects will be in 5 years, because the best projects, they're not even invented yet.
Yep.
And when it happens, we have to absorb it and we have to change our opinion. If the market changes on Monday for whatever reason, we have to kind of revisit, we have to revise our view and our opinion. And I think that most people haven't really taken that in. They think that we're going to predict something and then we're going to stick with it. But
I think to add to what you're saying, I mean, I agree with you. And I think the best example of that is Luna. If you look at Luna, I don't think anybody could have predicted Luna collapsing this big. And so any predictions that anyone would have had before the Luna collapse are completely invalidated. I mean, I think if you would have gone back, there were probably a handful of people that would have predicted that Luna would have collapsed. And the way that Luna collapsed, it collapsed so quickly in 3 days. I don't think anybody could have predicted that. And that fueled the Bitcoin market collapsing to where it is. So I think specifically for us, because
no, exactly. I mean, a lot of people come and say, okay, but you guys said that Luna was good. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it too. 2 months ago, we had some video. We talked about it. I liked it. I think it looked promising. But then I also had like a stop loss. I had a cut point that if it drops below this, I'm out. And it happened. And I didn't like it. I didn't think it would happen. 2 months ago, I didn't think it would happen, but it happened. Okay, then I had to stop and pause and look at it again. Am I reading it wrong? No, actually, it's actually dropped below this key support that I thought would never happen, but it happened. Okay, then we have to take some action. And I think that this is really a mindset that can be very helpful in these uncertain times. We don't know if this is the bottom. On one side this, on the other side that, but truth is we don't know. But reality will guide us. And whatever happens, tomorrow, on Monday, next week, the week after, the month after, we can take in those clues and we can change our mind. And that is how we can navigate this uncertainty. And I think it's a helpful mindset for everyone to have. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's jump in. We've got one final topic, and then we'll do 5 very quick questions from the audience too. I know we got 2 people that are in far away time zones. So thank you, Ran and ZTO, for being up so late. But what are your plans for the rest of 2022? What advice would you give the viewers? Of course, not financial advice, but how you are planning your bags, how you are planning to dig out of the hole and make money back. I'd like to, like me personally, I always think of risk reward. I have been layering in. I double my buy each step down. And that takes the emotion out of it for me. I had a regret of not buying more Bitcoin at 29K in July 2021. And I never thought I'd get another bite of the apple. I did. So I'm happy. But if you're buying at, say, 28K, 29K versus 25K, 26K, over the next 3 to 5 years, that doesn't matter. You're getting in early. So I'm going to go to Ben, you first. Are you hanging tight? Are you waiting for that true capitulation down to 14K or 12K or 20K? Or are you layering in right now? And what would you plan? What do you plan for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I mean, as I've said over the last few months, I thought, I mean, the higher lows we were putting in after the rejection off the 200-day, it seemed like it was only a matter of time before we really broke down. So I think the general bear market structure, it still, I think, remains intact until proven otherwise. I think that it's protecting capital time, not trying to get rich time. So I think being heavy cash and Bitcoin makes the most amount of sense, because the truth is, over the next 6 months, it doesn't really matter the direction Bitcoin goes. Most altcoins are going to bleed against Bitcoin. Like, that's just where we are right now. We're in a bear, it's a bear market structure. Bitcoin has to be healthy before any altcoins are going to have any type of confidence. So I can tell you, I'm staying the hell away I'm staying the hell away from altcoins. As I've been saying, like, I don't think that they're good value until Bitcoin shows that it's actually stronger. So I think for the next 3 to 6 months, it makes sense to be heavy the blue chips, mainly Bitcoin. I do think Ethereum is going to bleed against Bitcoin until the end of the year, and I think altcoins are going to bleed against Bitcoin for probably the next 3 to 6 months, and then maybe closer to the end of the year, it'll be a better risk reward play on the altcoins. I think the problem is that people underestimate how badly altcoins can get wrecked in a bear market. And we are quick to FOMO back in, but a lot of the altcoins today, even on their pump today, just like five days ago, those prices would have been unimaginable for some people, and now it's sort of like a FOMO price, right? Just because it's a bounce off the most recent low. So I think you need to protect your downside risk by not having a ton of altcoins, and recognizing that Bitcoin will probably preserve value the most for a while, and until it either capitulates more convincingly to some of the indicators we showed earlier, or if it somehow shows strength, even though we're in a risk-off environment, I would not be too heavy on altcoins.
So did you ditch all your alts like Cardano and stuff like that, or you're just holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, or you're just not layering in from here?
My portfolio right now is 3% altcoins.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Ran, over to you. What's your game plan for the rest of 2022? And I must say, for you, a lot of respect. You've been very open. You've been very brave. You got hit hard, and here you are. How are you going to rebuild?
Yeah, I mean, to your first point, as I mentioned to anyone who watches me, I'm a very open book and I'm very transparent. And what Banter is, it's a reality show. I tell people what I'm doing, and when I'm right, I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But either way, it's what I'm doing. I have a slightly different view to Ben. Ben is much more analytical on the timings and stuff like that. I am looking at this thing. I'm not a trader. I don't trade in and out. Usually, once I buy something, I buy it and I hold it. And unless my thesis is broken. So, sometimes I maybe try and time my buying zone. Sometimes, and that's something that Sheldon and the technical guys have taught me. But ultimately, once I research something and I think that it's good, then I buy it and I hold it, and I don't ever sell it unless my thesis changes, or unless I need money to buy something else, or unless I need money to rebalance my portfolio or whatever else. But otherwise, I never sell. So to me, the same altcoins that I held in earlier, which is, Solana, I hold some Cardano, I hold some Thorchain, I hold, there's a whole portfolio. I just keep buying those things. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm using the opportunity with the little money that I've got left. I'm using the opportunity to pick up the things that I think fundamentally are going to be part of my portfolio, and to pick them up at the best price that I can. But again, it seems like it's a very different approach from you guys, or from specifically from Ben, because I don't trade in and out of things. I think a lot of people also don't appreciate, the tax implications of trading in and out of things. I don't know how the taxation is in the countries which you guys live in, but if we trade in and out of things, there's a 40% tax on your profit. So that's a big deterrent from actually selling something, just because you want to time the market in and out, because you got to time for a 40% loss. So for me, my strategy remains the same. I'm looking for protocols which I think are going to change the world. I'm going to, I say my investment thesis stays the same. Invest in protocols that you think are going to change the world, and then give them enough time and support to do their thing. And that's exactly how I keep on investing, good times and bad times. And I only sell if my thesis becomes invalidated, if I need money to fund other investments, if I need money to fund my lifestyle, or if I need to rebalance my portfolio. But otherwise, I'm not a seller.
Great, good stuff. And finally, CTO, what's your plan for the rest of the year? Have you bought in recently? What does your allocation look like?
Yeah, so I bought yesterday and I stuck to my plan. This is my dream scenario that I've talked about for months, and now it happened. And I mean, the thing is that if you watch Twitter, a lot of people have talked for weeks and months that they're going to buy 28K. But then when it actually happens, it's very difficult to press that buy button, because at that point of time, it feels like the world is ending and it's going to go further down. It's very difficult to buy. Yeah, so I've scaled in. I have mainly Bitcoin, and second position, my second largest position is Ethereum, and that's just about it. And I have also, I think, same like Ben, I have maybe 3% something else. But that's what I've done. And now we will see if this was the bottom. Then I'm going to hold that because I hope then, and I think that it's possible we get a Bitcoin-led rally here. There has been a trend change in the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins. Bitcoin has shot up now, and there is a possibility that there is a change here. So my thesis here is that we get a Bitcoin-led rally up, and then I will hold Bitcoin mainly. And I think so also. I think a lot of the alts could get slaughtered either way. Either if Bitcoin runs first, alts drop against the Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin runs down, altcoins also drop against Bitcoin. It's only kind of later in the cycle, when there's been a lot of profits made and people start feeling that Bitcoin is boring because it's only going up 10% per day, and the altcoins are going up 20% per day. That's when the kind of speculative frenzy is at its best. Having said that, I mean, Rand's strategy that you are doing, you're acting like a VC. That is also a sound strategy. If you're kind of consistent with a strategy, that either you try to kind of move with the market, then you have to take action, you have to bite the bullet on the tax implications and all those stuff. That is a valid strategy. The other strategy to kind of diversify and buy and hold and hope that you get a couple that really takes off and make up for all the projects that don't make it. That is also a valid strategy. What is not a valid strategy, which a lot of beginners do in this industry, is that they do the VC approach, but instead of Rand, I guess you have a portfolio, I don't know, 50, 100 projects, something like that, right?
Yeah,
they do the VC approach, but with one project or with two or something. And then that is not a sound strategy, because the likelihood that exactly those two small projects make it is very small. But if you do that with a large number of projects, your chance of hitting one that then goes 100x or 1000x or something and compensates for the other ones is much bigger. Is that correct to say, right?
Yeah, just to clarify, so my portfolio is broken up, and my portfolio is very aggressive. So, I mean, for different people, it's different things, but my portfolio is very aggressive because I have a lot outside of crypto. Because I sold a business previous to getting into crypto. I had a very big exit, so I have a big lump sum out of crypto. But my portfolio is 50% in what I call a HODL portfolio, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. It was Luna. I think it's now slightly changed, and that's because it worked its way out there. 35% of my portfolio is in slightly riskier assets, things like Arweave, those kind of things, chain links in the HODL portfolio. And then 10 to 15% of my portfolio is, like you mentioned, broken up into 50 investments. And you're talking about 0.35, 0.5% of the portfolio in each one of those assets. Now, I'll give you one example. An example is Luna. Initially, when I invested in Luna was like less than 0.35, less than 0.5% of my portfolio. And I left it and I let it run for so long without touching it. I kept earning the staking rewards because we were staking and earning 10, 11, 12% rewards at some stages. And that then became the majority of my portfolio. So, and that was, as you mentioned, holding. Now, the one mistake that I made was that I never rebalanced fast enough, and that came back to bite me. But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, because we're in an emerging technology, and because this technology has the promise to change the world, just like Bitcoin is changing the world, a host of a whole lot of small bets, if you have the conviction to hold them forever, could change your life. If you bought Binance, if you bought Ethereum, if you bought Matic, if you bought all of those, and even if you just put $1,000 into those, you would be a multi-millionaire today, and we're not even halfway through the race yet. So it's a different approach. It seems to me like some of the others on this stream are a little bit more market timers. I've been shown to not be the best market timer in the world. I'm too emotional. I'm either too excited and then I jump on the bandwagon too late, or I panic too much and then I sell. But ultimately, everyone must stick to the strategy which they hold. And my strategy is multiple small bets which get bigger over time, and then constant rebalancing.
Yep, good stuff. So right now we're going to go into the final section. I hope the audience has gotten a lot from you guys, a lot of really good information and everything else. We're going to jump into a couple of quick questions from the audience. And I'm just trying to pull the slide. Yes, audience Q&A. So we're just taking 5 questions today because we ran very long. First question is from, well, it's not even a question, it's a compliment to you guys, from Elger Kalda from somewhere in Europe land. My knowledge and my intellect are much more developed and complete thanks to you guys. So big thank you to you guys for being here and helping everybody out, helping guide people. Next question is from BrohanSolo. What are your guys' view on TLM token? Is it a good buy, and does it have a crypto compendium score? So are you guys familiar with TLM? I had a quick dig while I was here. It's Alien Worlds. Obviously, metaverse gaming type play built on Ethereum.
It's not built on Ethereum. I think it's built on. Is it not built on Wax protocol? I think it might be built on Wax. Okay. I may be wrong.
Cool. Yeah. Would you guys touch it, especially in this market? I can tell you right now, the compendium score is horrific. When we look at things like inflation and supply and stuff like that, it's not good. Like much of the metaverse plays, I personally would not touch it, especially not in this market or any market probably. How about you guys?
I wouldn't touch it.
Just reached new lows, right? Just reached new lows if I'm looking at the right coins, and that's randomly catching falling knives. You have no idea how low it can go. I would not touch it here.
Yep.
I'm going to go a bit further, and I'm going to say I wouldn't touch it, and I wouldn't touch any other individual game. And I'll tell you why. Because games have so we don't even know if NFT gaming is going to work. We think it is, and it's showing promising signs, but we don't even know if it's going to work. And within the gaming industry, you have multiple games, and the majority of games never ever see the light of day, never even get completed. And those that get completed, only very few of them get adopted. And those that get adopted, only few of them have adoption that lasts more than a certain amount of time. And therefore, to be honest, I think any individual game right now specifically is a very, very, very stupid investment. I do, however, think that if you can buy into a gaming studio or into a gaming guild or into the picks and shovels, which is immune to the individual game and gains from that, then that might be a very good investment. But even Axie Infinity, Peg Axie, all of these games, they're fads. They're going to die. And so to me, that's not a good investment, to be honest.
Well said. The Axie revenue is down 99% in 10 months. People are very fickle with games, and my gaming knowledge is as strong as my cupcake baking knowledge. I don't have any clue about this space, but I did hear from people that metaverse games and blockchain games, etc., are terrible quality for the true gamers. They play elsewhere. So thank you for that, guys. Next question from Master Block Warrior, who is in the same region as you, Ran. Where do you folks stand on the Bitcoin as a currency versus Bitcoin as a store of value debate? Quick round table from the three of you.
I mean, I actually use Bitcoin as a currency. I have a small course, and it's a global audience. And receiving money sitting here in Europe and receiving money from all over the world, it's through the traditional system. It's a pain, and it's expensive. And I mean, the best alternative is still PayPal that Elon Musk and company built like 20 years ago, and the website still looks the same. It hasn't changed. And it's so expensive. And the bank system, even worse, cannot even receive money from many countries. It just doesn't work. And when it works, there's a ton of hassle. Yeah. So I actually use Bitcoin as a currency, and it's working great. So I like it as a currency, but of course it has a lot of problems being used as a currency. For example, if you receive a payment, you typically have to pay tax. There can be VAT and there can be tax and so on. And that's at the point when you receive it. Then if, for example, Bitcoin drops the next day, you still have to pay tax on what value it was when you received it. But now you don't have the money anymore to pay that tax from. So that's a very practical problem that you don't have with stable coins, for example. Then those are comparably more stable. So I think it is still useful as a payment currency, but it's far from perfect. And the store of value use case, like the digital gold, that has really grown on me. I was kind of a little bit skeptical in the beginning. I felt that won't it be like some other coin, like Ethereum, that can do other things, and then it can do the store of value as well. But that digital gold use case has actually grown on me. I kind of like it. So I feel that it is both. It's useful as both right now.
Excellent. Ran, what do you think?
I've been here right through. I got here in 2015, so I think a lot of people got here before me. I've listened to all the narratives for Bitcoin about how it was supposed to be cash, and then it didn't work as cash. I still think it's not a very practical cash for 100 different reasons. One of the reasons is it's just too slow for cash. It's not good for microtransactions. It never will be good for microtransactions unless, of course, you use a layer 2, Lightning Network, etc., etc. I also think that in most countries, unfortunately, the tax implications of selling Bitcoin attract capital gain or income tax, and that prohibits it from being a currency. So I think that for me, I like the store of value narrative. Why would you want to sell a scarce asset that keeps increasing in value, specifically in the first 100 years of its life, or whatever the number of years is where adoption is increasing? You don't want to sell. I mean, imagine you were the guy that sold Bitcoin to buy a pizza. I mean, and how many other stories are there like that? Yeah. So for me, it's not a currency. It's not supposed to be a currency. I kind of wish that the currency would have been Luna, but it's not. So over to you, Ben.
Ben, what's your take?
Yeah, I don't really see myself going around and like spending Bitcoin on things. Yeah, I feel like you have to be incentivized to spend your money, and if you think the asset could be worth more in a year, you're probably not going to want to spend it. So you're just going to like keep it and save it. So kind of a store value type thing. I think the future currencies are that we might use will just be stable coins, that not what we saw happen with UST, but something that's just like pegged to the dollar. I mean, you need something that you think is, or that is just going to be worth less next year in terms of its purchasing power. Otherwise, you don't really have the same incentive to spend it. We spend our dollars today because we know they're not going to really be worth any more tomorrow. So I don't really think Bitcoin is the thing that people are going to be, spending everywhere. It'll probably just be stable coins. I mean, any altcoin that fluctuates in value so much, it's not a realistic cash alternative, I don't think.
Exactly. And I woke up, I said this on your channel, Ran, this morning. I woke up in a cold sweat the other day. There's 14 million Bitcoin, 5 million are lost, not coming back, 8 billion people in the world. 65% of that Bitcoin is with hodlers. They're not giving it up. They're holding it long term. That means there's under 5 million left for the world. And that's 0.00062 Bitcoin per person. And when you realize that, everybody realizes, I don't have enough Bitcoin. So get some, everybody, lock it away. Not shilling Bitcoin here, but just think of the numbers. It's so hard. It doesn't increase. In fact, it's most probably deflationary because everybody's so careless and losing their coins and everything else. Next question is from Brian Winstanley. Should MicroStrategy buy back its own shares? That was a roller coaster, that particular stock. I don't know if you guys follow MicroStrategy. I know I do. I might as well take this quickly first. I don't think they've got the money to do that. They already have a lot of debt. I think I was more concerned with somebody coming and doing a aggressive takeover, like back in the 80s and 90s, a corporate raider coming in and saying, whoa, I can buy this much Bitcoin, 130,000 Bitcoin almost, for half off. That was my biggest fear, akin to what Elon Musk did with Twitter. So that's my take. Do you guys follow MicroStrategy at all? I know you all know.
I follow that scenario. I follow that scenario. I have been following that scenario for a while. And I think that could be either a big risk or the biggest opportunity to the Bitcoin market, because if someone does swoop them at a value, I don't think that the shareholders will allow it to go for less than net asset value. So I think the board would vote to not sell it for less than net asset value, because you could always liquidate the assets. And I think that would then bring to light the value of Bitcoin outside of the crypto market. So that part I have been following, and that's the part that I actually wish it would happen, and then the board vote no, and then everyone realizes, wow, this thing's actually worth a whole lot more. I think it's almost inevitable that it will happen. So it's almost like, I don't know what I'm missing. Every time that MicroStrategy trades at a great discount to the NAV, it's just a buy. I mean, look, I don't know, unless I'm missing something, unless I'm completely missing something.
Yeah, where it gets dinged is it has to account for the drop in value of Bitcoin. So next quarterly earnings are going to take a big hit, but that's just, as Michael Saylor says, it's a baseball card. You got to write down, but you can never write up, which is absolutely insane. But that's just old GAAP accounting rules. Final question.
Grayscale and MicroStrategy in the same boat. Exactly. Both of them are trading at a huge discount.
Grayscale hit a new all-time high discount today, nearly 31%. For those who want some GBTC cheap. Anyway, it's only a matter of time before it gets flipped to an ETF, and then you make all that money back. Not financial advice. Final question, and this goes into the tribal nature of crypto. If you ever insult anybody's bags, they get really upset. This is from Jeremy. Much respect to you, Jeremy, for this question. And we take all questions. So the question is, why you crap on SHIBA? You've done no due diligence. Who wants to take that? And what would your approach to be? Because listen, if you have an emotional attachment to any token, it's the kiss of death. I always say you've got to wear your tap dancing shoes, be ready to get a divorce instantaneously. Don't think about it. If something starts turning away down from you, get out. So this person obviously believes, maybe it's a joke from Jeremy, I'm not sure. But
do you mind if I take this and then jump for a dinner, because I'm a little bit late for dinner?
Yeah. Go for it.
And not to be rude, but it's a dinner.
It's very late.
I think that unfortunately, so crypto is a very incredible asset, and there's a very good reason why crypto works. In my previous company, what I analyzed why people make purchase decisions, and people make purchase decisions because of hormones, a hormonal effect, dopamine, serotonin, and a whole lot of things, and oxytocin, which make you eventually feel connected to certain things. Crypto has a very good mechanic because it gives you self-affirmation all the time, because you like something, and then that something's price goes up, and then you affirm that you're a genius, and then you like it even more because it releases all the right hormones, and then you become even a bigger genius. And crypto, you have a real-time scoreboard for your affirmations every single time. And so what happens is the human body releases dopamine and oxytocin. They get released together, and people then become attached to their bags. Okay, so, and when you become attached emotionally, it's chemical. It's not even logical. You can't say, oh, I don't want to become attached to my bag. It's chemical. Okay, now, when that happens, unfortunately, we become so attached that when people criticize our bags, we respond by telling them they're idiots. Best example in the world, Luna. How many people told us that this thing can go into a tailspin? And what did Do Kwon respond? You're going to stay poor. You're going to be poor. And that's the biggest problem in crypto. We don't know how to take criticism, and we should take criticism. And I'll tell you why. Because your critics are your best friends, because they put holes into your beliefs. And sometimes those holes are garbage, but sometimes that hole may just save your life. And a lot of people saw the death spiral happening on Luna and warned that this would happen. The Luna community responded by saying, we have so much conviction because our chemicals have mustered up and whatever else, that we cannot take criticism. And as a result, we never blocked that hole. And so I think that one of the biggest learnings for me in crypto is you've got to be open to the critics. But when I say open, I mean really open. Not just listen, but actually listen and really question whether your assumptions about what your chemicals are telling you are the best. And that is why I think no human can ever outtrade a computer algorithm, because a computer algorithm doesn't have dopamine, oxytocin, and a whole lot of very, very other complex chemicals which make people feel attached. That's how I said.
That's probably the most valuable 2 minutes, I think, of YouTube anybody in crypto can ever hear. Thank you for that, Ran. I know you got to bounce. Ben,
Thank you, guys.
DTO,
Much
any final
appreciated.
comments from you guys regarding Shiba Inu? Why would you crap on Shiba Inu, Ben?
I mean, look, the truth is, I mean, meme coins only do well in a bull market. We're not in a bull market, so I mean, it's just going to get wrecked against not only its USD pair, but also its Bitcoin pair and its Ethereum pair. Like it's just going to get wrecked. There's no point in my opinion, there's no point in speculating on something that I'm fairly convinced is just heading down. I don't really care what the fundamentals are. The fundamentals don't matter in a bear market. That's just the truth. It doesn't matter how many great headlines or how great your community is, blah blah blah. Like, just no one cares, right? It's a risk off time. Your altcoins don't really matter right now. So I would say I understand that you like it. But until markets go back to risk on, it's likely just going to bleed. And even then, once markets do go back risk on, I'm still not convinced that one's going to do well. Some altcoins will, but I don't know about that one.
Excellent. CTO.
No, I think it's a very interesting question, actually. And what Ran said there is very interesting as well. That the outcome of that is that unless that you have some kind of hard and fast process, you're not going to survive. And I mean, that's why you are doing well, James, with your process. You have your highly analytical, score-based system, and you have some systematic approach to evaluating these. And Ben, you have your multidisciplinary, you're great at TA, you have a very systematic approach. And as I don't know Ran so well, but I understand that he has some approach also where he kind of take more of a VC approach and so on. And there are many great approaches, and they all work. They all bring out a good outcome in the end. But having no process won't. That doesn't bring out any good outcome, because we get tricked by our hormones and our emotions and our chemicals, and we hold on to something when we shouldn't. And it actually works in the other direction also. Like, things we don't recognize, we generally don't like. So people that we recognize a little bit, we like them more, even though we actually know nothing about them. It could be that they're a serial killer, but we still like them more because we recognize them. And things we don't recognize, we don't like. So when I said that I said that I put no on Shiba Inu, actually, I think it was premature to say that, because I actually know almost nothing about Shiba Inu. And probably the reason I said no was that I didn't know anything. And then I feel like it's not going to work out either. But that is a risk, because many of the new opportunities that are coming in the beginning, we don't know about them. So we really need to kind of open ourselves for new projects and at least give them a chance, look at them. And I think I haven't actually done that on Shiba Inu. I don't know anything about it. That would be great. I mean, I learned more from what you answered now than I knew in total about Shiba Inu before. I looked at the TA, it doesn't look great. Trend is down. It's kind of hard to say where this will go. And I just don't know enough about the project. But it was a thought-provoking question, actually.
Well, I want to thank everybody, and anybody who hasn't subscribed to the channels below, please check out Ben, CTO, and of course Crypto Banter's link. I know everybody kind of watches everybody, and we are 4 people here that really want to help others, so we're very much aligned. So thank you. We had over 6,000 people at one stage watching live, and I want to wish everybody a good Friday the 13th. Be safe. Big thank you again, Ben, CTO, and Ran. Enjoy your dinner. See you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.